John Miller thought he was safe. 22 years of paying insurance premiums, never missing a single payment. And then, in a split second, his life was ripped apart by a car accident. What happened next wasn't just about surviving. The crash, it was a fight against the very system he trusted. Hospitals, insurance claims, rehabilitation, lost income, and a mountain of paperwork turned his life upside down. How does an ordinary American navigate survival when every step forward comes with bureaucracy, delay, and heartbreak? This is the story of his journey, the physical pain, the emotional roller coaster, and the battle for every single dollar and step he needed to reclaim his life. John Miller never imagined his life would become an insurance case study. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't unlucky by choice. He was careful, the kind of American who believed that if you followed the rules, the system would protect you. John was 48 years old, living in Dayton, Ohio, working as a school bus driver. Not a high-paying job, but a respected one. Parents trusted him with their children every morning. The school district trusted him with safety, and John trusted the system. For 22 straight years, John never missed a single insurance payment. Health insurance, life insurance, disability coverage. Every policy was active. Every premium paid on time. Every renewal letter filed neatly in a drawer labeled "Important, just in case." John used to say, "If something ever happens to me, my family will be okay." That belief gave him peace. Every weekday, his alarm rang at 4:50 a.m. Coffee, shower, quiet house. By 6 a.m., John was already on the road. On November 14, 2022, the morning felt no different. Light rain had fallen overnight. Roads were slick but manageable. Ohio drivers were used to worse. John checked the weather, grabbed his jacket, and arrived at the bus yard on time. The bus was empty. Student pickup hadn't started yet. At 6:40 a.m., John approached an intersection he had crossed thousands of times before. The traffic light turned green. He moved forward. What John didn't see was the pickup truck running the red light at full speed. The impact came from the side, violent, sudden, unforgiving. Metal crushed inward. Glass exploded across the road. John's body slammed against the steering frame. His chest absorbed the force. His spine twisted unnaturally. Nearby drivers stopped. Someone called 911. Someone else pulled out a phone and started recording. John was unconscious. When paramedics arrived, they didn't waste time. His breathing was unstable. Neurological response was weak. Internal bleeding was suspected. One decision was made in under a minute. Airlift him. Trauma center, now! The helicopter blades cut through the cold Ohio air as John was lifted from the scene. Every minute in the air meant another massive charge added to the bill. But John didn't know that. He was unconscious and unaware that the accident wasn't just testing his body. It was about to test everything he believed about insurance, security, and survival in America. And his family had no idea that paying for insurance was only the beginning of the fight. The helicopter landed on the rooftop of Miami Valley Hospital just after sunrise. John Miller was rushed through the trauma bay doors without a single family member beside him. Doctors spoke in short, urgent sentences. Nurses moved fast. Monitors lit up. Blood was drawn. Imaging orders were shouted across the room. Within minutes, John was in the intensive care unit. He had no idea where he was, no idea how badly his body was damaged, and no idea how expensive survival in America could be. Emily arrived at the hospital 40 minutes later. She hadn't even finished putting on her shoes when the phone call came. A police officer told her there had been an accident, a serious one. He didn't give details. He just said her husband had been airlifted. When Emily reached the ICU, she saw John through a glass window. Machines were breathing for him. Tubes ran from his chest and arms. His body looked swollen, bruised, unfamiliar. A doctor pulled her aside. Multiple rib fractures, spinal trauma, internal bleeding. He's stable for now, but critical. Emily nodded, barely processing the words. Then came the second conversation, the one no one prepares you for. A hospital administrator approached her with a clipboard. "We need insurance information. Treatment will continue, but coverage verification is required." Emily handed over John's insurance card with shaking hands. She felt relief knowing he was covered. He always made sure of that. 30 minutes later, the administrator returned. "Initial emergency services? ICU admission, imaging, helicopter transport. and surgical prep so far total $187,000. Emily thought she had misheard. $187,000? She repeated. That's just the first phase, the administrator said calmly. Final billing will depend on surgeries, length of ICU stay, and rehabilitation. Emily felt the floor drop beneath her. She called the insurance company's 24-hour claims line from the hallway. After automated prompts and hold music, a polite voice answered. Thank you for calling. We'll need to open a claim. Police report, medical records, and incident verification are required before approval. Emily asked the question every American asks in that moment. But he's insured. This was an accident. The agent's tone didn't change. Coverage and claim approval are separate processes. That sentence hit harder than the bill. By nightfall, John remained unconscious. The ICU clock kept ticking. Machines beeped steadily. And with every passing hour, the cost of keeping him alive kept climbing. Emily sat alone in the waiting area, holding a stack of hospital papers, realizing something terrifying. Insurance didn't mean protection. It meant a process. And that process had just begun. By the third day, John was still unconscious. The doctors called it a medically induced state. His body needed rest. His brain needed time. But the insurance company had no such luxury. Emily learned that the moment her phone rang again. This claim is now under investigation. Those words changed everything. The insurance adjuster explained the process carefully, almost politely. The accident had to be verified as a covered event. Liability had to be established. Medical necessity had to be documented. That meant paperwork, lots of it. Police reports, witness statements, traffic camera footage, medical imaging, physician notes. Until that process was complete, the claim would remain pending. Emily contacted the local police department herself. The report existed, but it wasn't finalized yet. The officer explained that traffic camera footage had to be requested from the city's transportation department, which could take days. Days John didn't have. The hospital billing office wasn't waiting. They sent a preliminary statement. ICU stay, imaging, labs, medications, charges were now approaching $240,000. Emily felt trapped between two systems that didn't talk to each other. Doctor said, he needs care now. Insurance said, we need proof first. That afternoon, an insurance investigator called. We need confirmation that your husband was not at fault. Emily answered calmly, even though her hands were shaking. He had a green light. The truck ran the red. We'll need evidence, the investigator replied. Every sentence ended with the same word, verification. That night, Emily went through John's old files at home. Inside the drawer labeled important, just in case, she found the original policy documents. She read every line. That's when she saw it. A single clause buried deep in the contract. Emergency trauma caused by third party. Traffic violation is covered at 100%. Emily highlighted it, printed it, saved screenshots. For the first time since the accident, she felt something other than fear. She felt armed, because now she understood something critical. This wasn't about whether John had insurance. It was about whether she could prove he deserved to use it. The waiting became unbearable. Every morning, Emily checked her phone before checking on her husband. No missed calls, no emails, no updates from insurance. John's condition fluctuated. 1 hour stable, the next alarming. Doctors warned her that spinal swelling could cause permanent damage if complications arose. But the insurance status hadn't changed. Still pending. The hospital administration called Emily into a small office. We've continued treatment based on emergency protocols, the billing manager said, choosing words carefully. But we'll need a payment. Guarantee soon to proceed with extended care and future surgeries. Emily understood what they weren't saying. Without approval, care could slow down. She called the insurance company again. This time she asked for a supervisor. After 42 minutes on hold, someone finally answered. We're still waiting on third-party liability confirmation, the supervisor explained. Until the traffic violation is officially documented, we can't issue full approval. Emily sent the highlighted policy clause by email. She followed up with a second email, then a third. Hours passed. Late that evening, a message finally arrived. We've received the clause. It will be reviewed. Reviewed, not approved. John briefly regained consciousness that night. He opened his eyes just long enough to whisper, Am I going to be okay? She didn't tell him about the bills, or the delays, or the fear of losing everything. She just said, "Yes, I'm here." After he drifted back to sleep, Emily sat alone in the hallway and cried quietly. She realized something most Americans only learn the hard way. Insurance companies don't rush because someone is dying. They move when the paperwork is perfect. And until every box was checked, John Miller's life was still financially unprotected, despite 22 years of loyalty. The investigation wasn't over. It was just getting started. November 16th, 2022, John's accident had passed its second day. ICU monitors beeped rhythmically, a constant reminder of his fragile state. Emily and her teenage son, Lucas, paced the corridors, holding folders, phone numbers, and emails like lifelines. At 9 a.m., the phone finally rang. The display read, "Insurance claims, supervisor office." Emily's heart raced. She answered. "Mrs. Miller?" The supervisor, Mr. Anderson, said calmly. "We've received all documentation. Police report verified. CCTV footage confirms third-party liability. Medical records have been reviewed. We are preparing preliminary approval for John's claim." Emily froze. The words felt unreal. 22 years of consistent premium payments. The safety net she believed in was finally responding. But there was a cautionary note. Preliminary approval allows temporary coverage for ongoing hospital treatment. Final. Claim release requires senior verification and finance department confirmation. Relief mixed with anxiety. Emergency care would continue, yes, but financial certainty remained a distant goal. The hospital billing office immediately issued a temporary guarantee letter, allowing surgeons to proceed without fear of immediate payment. Lucas looked at his mother. "Does this mean Dad is safe now?" he asked. Emily hugged him tightly. "Safe enough for treatment. Recovery is still a journey." Every follow-up call, every email, every fax reinforced a critical lesson. Insurance coverage is only as strong as persistence and documentation. John's monitors beeped steadily. Emily realized that the battle for his survival wasn't just medical. It was also financial and administrative, and patience had become her weapon. November 17th, 2022, John remained stable in ICU, but every hour ticked up the hospital bill. Emily knew the real challenge was ahead, the finance department review. Early that morning, Mr. Anderson called again. "Additional documentation is required for claim approval," he explained. Emily quickly reviewed the list. Proof of 22-year continuous payments, updated policy declarations, third-party liability acknowledgement, itemized hospital charges and verification. For Emily, this meant a marathon of scanning, faxing, emailing, and double-checking everything. Lucas helped, but tension mounted with each minute. The hospital staff reminded her, "Temporary guarantee is in place, but unpaid services are accumulating hourly." Emily understood that accuracy and timing were critical. One missing form could delay John's rehabilitation, maybe even risk his long-term recovery. She also followed up directly with the third-party driver's insurance. Supervisor Anderson confirmed. "Liability documentation is strong. Only final finance approval remains." Emily explained to Lucas, "Every minute counts. We are not only fighting for Dad's recovery, but also for every dollar that allows him to survive." By evening, she highlighted a crucial clause in John's policy. Emergency trauma caused by third-party traffic violation is fully covered. This became her secret weapon, a legal and moral foundation to ensure the finance department couldn't delay unjustifiably. Emily realized that surviving the accident was only part of the battle. The other part was navigating a complex system of verifications, approvals, and financial checks, all while ensuring her family remained stable. Every beep of John's monitors, every hospital update, every email sent reinforced a harsh truth. Insurance might promise protection, but you have to fight to access it. November 18th, 2022, John Miller remained in ICU, but the monitors now beeped with a hint of stability. His condition was far from normal, yet there was a small window of hope. At 10 a.m., Emily's phone rang. "Mr. Anderson?" The insurance supervisor called with news. Emily held her breath. "Mrs. Miller, the finance department has completed preliminary review. We are issuing temporary approval for John's ongoing treatment. Full claim approval will follow after final senior verification," he explained. Emily's hands shook. 22 years of premiums, every meticulous payment, every neatly filed policy document. It was finally paying off. The hospital could continue treatment uninterrupted, and John's ICU care was secure. The hospital staff confirmed, temporary guarantee received. Surgeries and monitoring will continue. Lucas, standing beside his mother, asked softly, "Mom, does this mean Dad is safe now?" Emily smiled through tears. "Safe enough for treatment. Walking and recovery will take time, but he's alive." Yet the suspense lingered. Full claim approval had not arrived. Emily knew this temporary approval was a small victory, but the real battle was still ahead. Every form, every fax, every call mattered. She updated her diary meticulously. Temporary approval details, supervisor contacts, next steps for final claim approval. John's monitors reminded her of the stakes. Every beep was a heartbeat, every line of paperwork a shield against potential financial disaster. By evening, Emily realized something crucial. Insurance coverage may provide a safety net, but survival requires vigilance, knowledge, and persistence. For the first time, she allowed herself a tiny sigh of relief, a glimmer of hope. November 19, 2022. John had been moved from ICU to a step-down unit. His vitals were more stable. Swelling had reduced slightly. Internal bleeding was under control, and oxygen support had been lowered. Emily and Lucas watched cautiously. John's eyes flickered open briefly, a sign of consciousness. Yet far from full recovery, it was a small victory in a long war. The hospital began planning rehabilitation. Physical therapists, spine specialists, and pain management teams were assigned, but they reminded Emily the rehab schedule depended entirely on insurance approval. Temporary coverage allowed treatment, but full rehabilitation required final claim authorization. Emily called Mr. Anderson for guidance. He reassured her. "Senior verification is pending. Full claim approval expected within 48-72 hours. Rehab coverage is part of that approval, but only after sign-off." Emily understood that patience, persistence, and meticulous record-keeping were now part of the fight. Every note, every therapy session, every medical evaluation could influence the insurance outcome. Lucas, observing his father's condition, asked, "Mom, will Dad ever walk again?" Emily held his hand. "Doctors and insurance are both part of the equation. We'll cross every step as it comes." The hospital provided daily updates. Vitals stable, pain management ongoing, physical therapy scheduled tentatively. Emily realized the harsh truth. Survival wasn't just about medical care. It was about navigating a system designed to test patience and vigilance. Each beep from John's monitors, each minor improvement reminded Emily, the battle for life and recovery wasn't only physical, it was administrative. This stabilization phase was preparing the family for the next, even tougher challenge: final claim approval and the coordination of long-term rehabilitation. November 21, 2022. John had been in the step-down unit for a few days. His vitals were more stable, but his condition still demanded constant monitoring. Emily and Lucas spent most of their time in the hospital corridors, waiting for updates that could change everything. Then the phone rang. "Caller ID, insurance claims, senior office." Emily's heart raced. She answered. "Mrs. Miller," said the calm, clinical voice. "This call is regarding John Miller's insurance claim. After complete senior-level review of all documentation, medical records, and third-party liability confirmation, we are issuing tentative full claim approval. Final financial release will follow in 24 to 48 hours. Emily blinked, stunned. She repeated the numbers in her head. All those years of consistent payments, all the careful filing of documents. It was finally paying off. Tentative approval meant John's ongoing treatment, including surgeries and ICU care, was fully secured. Long-term rehabilitation plans could proceed. Hospital staff could move forward without fear of halted treatment. Lucas, standing beside his mother, asked nervously, "Mom, does this mean Dad will recover?" Emily hugged him tightly. "Safe enough to start the journey," she said. "The claim is moving forward, but it's not fully over yet." Despite the relief, suspense lingered. Full claim release still required final processing. Emily kept meticulous notes. Tentative approval date, senior review contacts, rehabilitation schedule. Emily realized a harsh truth. Insurance coverage isn't a guarantee, it's a process. Patience, documentation, and constant vigilance are essential. For the first time, the family felt a sense of cautious hope. The worst might be over. But recovery, medical, financial, and emotional, had only just begun. November 23, 2022, John's accident had been 9 days ago. The hospital environment had quieted slightly, but the tension was still palpable. John had been moved to a step-down unit. Monitors beeped steadily, his condition improving incrementally. Emily's phone rang at 11:47 a.m. Caller. ID insurance claims, senior office. Her hands shook. She answered. "Mrs. Miller," said the senior claims manager, calm and precise. "After complete senior-level review, financial audit and liability confirmation, I'm informing you that John Miller's claim has been fully approved." Emily couldn't believe it. She blinked. 22 years of payments, all those hours of meticulous documentation. It was finally over. The manager continued. Total approved coverage includes emergency treatment, surgeries, ICU stay, long-term rehabilitation, lost income compensation, and home modifications. Emily's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, $1,470,000. The weight of the number sank in. This was more than money. It was the lifeline for survival. For recovery, for dignity, hospital staff were immediately notified. Rehabilitation schedules were finalized. Social workers began home modification planning. John, lying weak and bruised in his bed, didn't know the full details. Emily bent over and whispered, "All the years you paid into the system. It worked. You're covered." But Emily knew this victory wasn't just about the money. It was about knowledge, persistence, and navigating a system that tests patience as much as loyalty. That night, Emily reflected. Surviving the accident was only part of the battle. Understanding the system and winning against administrative obstacles was equally critical. And for John Miller, the long journey of recovery, both physical and emotional, had only just begun. John slowly regained consciousness in the step-down unit. The monitors beeped softly around him, a constant reminder of both his fragility and resilience. His body ached in ways he had never experienced. Ribs bruised, spine twisted, shoulders strained. Every breath was a struggle, yet it was a victory that he could still breathe at all. Emily was beside him. Her face pale but determined, she held his hand gently. "How bad is it?" John whispered, voice hoarse from intubation and days of silence. Emily took a deep breath. "Your injuries are serious, but you're alive. We're going to get through this, step by step." John blinked slowly, trying to process the surrounding machines, the soft beeps, the tubes. Then he asked the question that had been on his mind. "Insurance. The bills. Will it cover all this?" Emily's eyes welled up. She chose her words carefully. "The claim has been fully approved. You're covered." John's eyes widened. "Fully? How much?" Emily whispered. $1,470,000. The words seemed to float in the air. John's mind struggled to comprehend the number. This wasn't just money, it was survival. It was a safety net, it was a second chance at life. But the realization brought more than relief. Guilt crept in. I don't want to bankrupt you," John murmured. Emily shook her head firmly. "You didn't bankrupt anyone. You did what every American does. You planned, you paid, you trusted the system. That's why you're alive." Doctors entered and outlined the road ahead. Weeks to months of intensive rehabilitation, spine therapy to regain mobility, home modifications for accessibility, long-term monitoring and outpatient care. John listened, absorbing each word. For the first time since the accident, he understood that surviving the crash was only half the battle. Later, alone for a moment, he stared at the ceiling and reflected. His life had changed in an instant. The man who once drove a school bus, careful and meticulous, was now navigating a new reality, one defined by recovery, vulnerability, and dependence on a complex system. And yet a glimmer of hope remained. He had survived. The insurance system, with all its bureaucracy, had finally acknowledged his right to live and recover. He closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "I may be broken, but I'm not finished." The journey ahead would test him in ways no crash ever could, physically, emotionally, and mentally. But for the first time in days, John felt a flicker of control in a world that had spun violently out of his grasp. November 25th, 2022. John's first day at the rehabilitation center arrived. The step-down unit had been stable, But this new environment was completely different. There were no alarms, no helicopters, no rushing nurses, just therapy rooms, parallel bars, and the quiet hum of machines. John's body resisted every movement. His legs felt heavy, unresponsive. Every attempt to sit, stand, or even shift in bed sent jolts of pain through his ribs and spine. His hands trembled as he gripped the wheelchair armrests. The simplest tasks felt impossible. Mark, his physical therapist, approached calmly. "John, today isn't about walking. It's about feeling your body again." But mental resistance proved stronger than the physical. John's pride, built over decades of hard work, collided with the reality of his new limitations. Emily and Lucas observed quietly. Emily knew that therapy wasn't just physical. It was an emotional trial. The insurance coverage had given them access, but it couldn't alleviate the pain or fear. Later, Emily received a call from the insurance company. Full coverage approval existed, but some advanced spinal therapies required prior authorization. Documents had to be submitted, forms filled, and approval awaited. By evening, John sat in bed exhausted and frustrated. "If I can't even stand, what am I now?" he whispered. Emily held his hand and said softly, "You're not broken beyond repair. You're fighting, and that's what matters." John realized a difficult truth. Survival had brought him this far, but recovery would demand relentless courage, patience, and cooperation with a system that tested limits. The second week of rehab arrived, and Mark announced a milestone. "Today we try standing." John gripped the parallel bars, braces strapped to his legs. Emily and Lucas watched silently. Nurses hovered nearby, ready to assist. 1, 2, 3, Mark counted. John pushed with all his strength. For 2 brief seconds, he was upright. Then his legs buckled. His body collapsed, crashing back onto the padded floor. Pain radiated, but humiliation cut deeper. I can't even stand," John muttered, eyes downcast. Emily knelt beside him. "You're not useless. You're fighting." This fall is part of the process. Then came another hurdle. Emily received an email from the insurance company. Advanced spinal therapy authorization was delayed, despite full claim approval. Without it, John couldn't use specialized equipment essential for recovery. Frustration boiled over. Emily called, escalated, and submitted additional documentation, videos of John's failed standing attempt, therapist notes, and medical evaluations. John overheard part of the conversation. He realized that insurance approval wasn't just a checkbox. It was a battle that had to be fought relentlessly. That night, exhausted and in pain, John stared into the hospital ceiling. The reality hit him. Recovery wasn't linear. Every success came with setbacks. Every step forward required resilience, patience, and constant advocacy from his family. Emily whispered, "Holding on is harder than falling." John nodded faintly, accepting that the physical scars were only part of the struggle. The mental and bureaucratic battles were equally daunting. John's rehab was progressing slowly, but the real battle had shifted. From his body to the paperwork surrounding his recovery. Advanced spinal therapy required additional documentation, and Emily quickly realized that the insurance company's approval process could be just as grueling as any hospital procedure. The next morning, Emily sat with a pile of folders, scanning, faxing, and sending emails. Each document was crucial. Incident reports from the accident, police verification of the third-party driver's liability, hospital imaging and therapy notes, video evidence of John's failed attempts to stand. She scheduled a conference call with the insurance medical reviewer, a professional whose calm voice betrayed nothing. Based on guidelines, the reviewer said, standard therapy is generally sufficient at this stage. Emily leaned forward, calm but firm. Guidelines are generic. John's injury is unique. Severe spinal trauma, multiple fractures, and neurological risk. Your own policy promises full coverage for functional recovery. The reviewer paused. We'll escalate to senior review. Decision within 24 hours. Emily didn't relax. She continued sending supporting documentation, highlighting every relevant clause in John's insurance policy, and providing video evidence of his struggles. That evening, John stared at the ceiling, exhausted and frustrated. "What if they deny it?" he whispered. Emily squeezed his hand. "Then we fight, again. That's what we've been doing all along." By the end of the day, Emily understood a harsh truth. Insurance coverage was only as strong as the persistence of the person advocating for it. Every fax, email, and phone call was a small battle, and each victory or delay could directly affect John's future. The documentation war wasn't glamorous, but it was critical. The difference between using advanced therapy, equipment, or being limited to standard, less effective treatment. While medical recovery progressed, another challenge emerged: lost income compensation. John had been the primary breadwinner. Every day he spent in the hospital or rehab meant lost wages, bills piling up, and stress mounting for Emily and Lucas. Emily contacted the insurance company's disability department. The process was meticulous. They needed verification of employment, salary statements, and medical confirmation of inability to work. Each form required notarization. Each signature required a witness. Meanwhile, John's employer expressed concern. "We need updates for payroll and benefits," HR said. Emily explained the situation. John was approved for temporary coverage, but lost income required additional approvals. John felt guilt creeping in. "I'm supposed to provide, and I can't," he murmured, frustrated. Emily reassured him. "You did your part. We're just navigating the system now." Weeks passed. Insurance processed forms slowly, sometimes requesting additional documentation that seemed redundant. Emily realized that having coverage didn't guarantee quick access to benefits. She spent late nights emailing, faxing, and calling supervisors, advocating for her husband's rights. Despite these challenges, small victories emerged. Lost income forms were finally approved, ensuring that the family wouldn't fall behind on rent, bills, or daily expenses. John reflected on the experience. Physical pain was temporary. Financial instability, if left unchecked, could have lasting consequences. Survival in America wasn't just about paying for insurance. It was about knowing the rules, staying persistent, and fighting for what you're entitled to. Emily looked at John one evening. "This fight isn't over," she said. He nodded. "But we've learned something crucial. The system can protect you if you don't give up." Recovery, both physical and financial, was now a combined journey. The hospital, the insurance company, and their own persistence moving together toward one goal: John's survival and return to life. As John's condition stabilized in the hospital, attention shifted to the next critical phase: home recovery. He wouldn't simply return to the life he had before. The house had stairs, narrow hallways, and bathrooms unsuitable for someone with spinal trauma. Emily met with a home modification specialist assigned by the insurance company. They discussed ramps, widened doorways, grab bars in bathrooms, and specialized shower chairs. Each item required approval, quotes, and verification that it fell within the insurance coverage. "Everything here is fully covered under your policy," the specialist said. Emily nodded, grateful but wary. From experience, she knew paperwork could delay even approved items. John arrived at home in a wheelchair for the first time. The ramps were in place, rails installed, and rooms rearranged to maximize accessibility. Yet the emotional toll was immediate. John tried to move independently and fell slightly in the kitchen. Emily rushed to his side. "It's okay. That's why we have rails," she said. John sighed, frustration heavy in his voice. "I can't do anything on my own." "This is humiliating." Emily took his hand. "Regaining independence is a process, John. It's not just physical. It's emotional, too, even with modifications. Simple tasks, making coffee, carrying plates, opening doors, became tests of patience. Insurance had provided the financial safety net, but true recovery required determination, adaptability, and daily resilience. Lucas adapted, too. He helped with meals, adjusted furniture, and learned how to support his father without hovering. The family dynamic shifted, but slowly, everyone adjusted to this new normal. By the end of the week, John managed a few steps with a walker. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. And Emily realized home recovery was not just about structures. It was about reclaiming dignity. December 1st, 2022. John had been home for nearly 2 weeks. The home modifications made daily life possible, but therapy sessions were intense. Physical therapists arrived daily, guiding him through exercises to strengthen legs, core, and spine. Pain was constant, fatigue overwhelming. One afternoon, during a particularly grueling session, John collapsed onto the padded floor. "I can't do this anymore," he groaned. Emily knelt beside him. "Your body is tired. That's normal. Let's take a break." But it wasn't just physical exhaustion. John's mental state began showing cracks. Anxiety, frustration, and guilt over lost independence started to accumulate. He worried about being a burden, about Lucas missing school, and about the mounting insurance paperwork he still didn't fully understand. Emily reached out to a mental health counselor covered by John's insurance. Weekly sessions were approved for stress management and emotional support, a crucial piece of his recovery. Insurance had kept the family afloat financially, provided coverage for therapies, and approved home adaptations. Yet John realized survival and recovery weren't only about money. Mental resilience was equally important. Therapists adjusted his sessions, balancing intensity with rest. Small victories emerged, standing for 10 minutes without support, taking a few steps with a walker, performing daily tasks independently. Emily noted each success in a journal. Each small improvement was a reminder that progress is measured in inches, not miles. The family began to understand a new reality. Surviving a catastrophic accident in the USA meant navigating a triple challenge: medical recovery, bureaucratic systems, and emotional resilience. By the evening, John rested in bed. He finally whispered, "I'm not the man I was, but I might be stronger than I think." The road ahead was still long, but for the first time in weeks, hope felt tangible. December 10th, 2022. John's recovery had entered a new phase: long-term rehabilitation. Daily sessions with physical therapists, occupational therapists, and pain management specialists were scheduled, each carefully documented for insurance purposes. Emily handled most of the coordination. Each appointment required verification, coverage confirmation, copay tracking, and prior authorization for specialized treatments. Even with full claim approval, insurance required meticulous documentation. For every session beyond the initial plan, John's therapy sessions were exhausting. Standing for 10 minutes one day might lead to 20 steps the next, only to fall short the following day. The physical struggle was matched by emotional challenges. Every setback felt like a step backward, every minor improvement a triumph. Emily meticulously logged progress for insurance follow-up. She emailed therapist notes, video clips, and daily activity reports. One morning, she received an email. Coverage for next month's advanced spinal. Therapy sessions requires updated documentation. It was a reminder. Insurance support was conditional, not automatic. Meanwhile, therapists introduced adaptive equipment, walkers, braces, and resistance machines. John had to learn to trust his body again, rebuild muscle memory, and recalibrate his balance. He spent hours relearning tasks that were once simple: sitting, standing, climbing stairs. Lucas grew more independent at home. He helped with meals, household chores, and emotional support, showing resilience beyond his years. Emily realized that survival in America was a combination of medical care, insurance advocacy, and personal perseverance. The family had learned that having coverage meant little without active engagement, persistence, and careful follow-up. By the end of the week, John stood for 20 minutes with a walker, a small but significant milestone. For the first time in weeks, the family allowed themselves a cautious sense of progress, knowing the road ahead would remain long and challenging. December 18th, 2022, John's long-term rehab was progressing. Physical milestones were being achieved: 10 steps without support, a pain-free stretch, a successful transfer from wheelchair to bed. Each small victory was celebrated. Yet emotional highs and lows followed closely behind. Insurance updates became routine. Emily checked in weekly, submitting therapy logs, verifying coverage for adaptive equipment, and ensuring lost income benefits continued uninterrupted. Each confirmation brought relief. Each delay sparked anxiety. One afternoon, John struggled to climb the ramp outside his home. Frustration overwhelmed him. He sank to the ground and muttered, "I feel useless, helpless." Emily knelt beside him. "You're not useless. Progress isn't always visible, but it's happening. Each step, even a small one, is a victory." Mental health sessions were now integral. John met weekly with a counselor to process trauma, grief for lost abilities, and anxiety about future independence. He learned coping strategies, breathing exercises, and the importance of celebrating small wins. Insurance, hospital, and rehabilitation coordination continued behind the scenes. Emily filed documentation, approved equipment requests, and followed up on lost income payments. She realized that every small milestone relied not only on John's body, but also on consistent engagement with the system. By evening, John could manage 30 steps with a walker. He paused at the top of the ramp, looked at his family, and smiled faintly. "I'm not where I was, but I'm moving forward." The family realized that recovery wasn't linear. Progress would fluctuate, setbacks would occur, but persistence in therapy and in navigating insurance was essential. Emily reflected quietly. Insurance provided the means, therapy provided the path, and resilience provided the heart. Only by combining all three could John reclaim independence. For the first time in weeks, the family allowed themselves to feel genuine hope, understanding that survival and recovery were not just medical achievements, but victories over bureaucracy, fear, and the limits of the human spirit. January 5th, 2023. It had been nearly 2 months since the accident. John Miller awoke that morning with a sense of determination. The home modifications, intensive rehab, and relentless support from Emily and Lucas had prepared him for this day. His first fully independent day, under supervision, without a wheelchair or walker. He slowly walked down the hallway, each step deliberate, each movement calculated. Pain lingered in his back and legs, but his mind focused on control. Emily followed closely, monitoring for any sign of imbalance, ready to assist. Lucas trailed, silent but proud, capturing the moment with his phone for memory, not documentation. At the kitchen table, John made coffee, the aroma familiar, comforting and grounding. For the first time since the accident, a simple act felt monumental. He poured, stirred, and sipped. Each small action symbolized progress, reclaiming independence piece by piece. Later, the insurance company called for a final follow-up. Emily reported on the use of adaptive equipment, therapy progress, and home modifications. The claim had been fully processed. Advanced therapy was completed, lost income compensation finalized, and the family had a safety net secured. Emily hung up and smiled. "This chapter is complete," she whispered to John. John sat quietly reflecting. The accident had stripped him of physical freedom, tested his family's resilience, and forced them to navigate a system that demanded vigilance, persistence, and patience. Yet through pain, bureaucracy, and emotional exhaustion, he survived. More than that, he learned what survival truly means. He thought of the parallel bars, the failed standing attempt, and the nights filled with fear. He thought of Emily's unwavering support and Lucas's adaptability. He understood that insurance alone did not save him. The combination of medical care, financial advocacy, mental resilience, and family commitment had been essential. John finally spoke, voice steady but emotional. "I'm not the man I was, but I'm stronger than I ever knew." Emily took his hand. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about standing up again and again, and never giving up, physically, mentally, and emotionally. The family stood together by the window, looking out at a winter sun glinting on the snow-covered yard. The accident had changed everything, but it had also revealed the depth of their resilience and the importance of preparation, patience, and persistence. In the end, survival was more than living. Through the accident, it was navigating every obstacle that followed. Hospital bureaucracy, insurance claims, therapy, lost income, and emotional upheaval. John's first independent day wasn't just a step forward for his body. It was a triumph over fear, paperwork, and the harsh reality that life in America is both fragile and resilient. And survival requires more than hope. It requires action. And as he sipped his coffee, standing tall in his home, John knew one truth above all. You don't just survive. You fight, you adapt, and you reclaim your life one step at a time.